Shalom Alayakun, everyone, and Kuduza. We're happy that you're joining us here on our Saturday morning. It's 9:30 a.m. in Oregon, and I am super excited to have my husband here with me today. We don't normally do lives together. We were actually joking. Ken was saying that he thought he should go in the other room with his laptop so that it seemed like it was a proper interview, or go sit out in the car. So we were chuckling about that beforehand.
This is too cold.
Yeah, I think we're not even above 30 degrees here. Anyway, it was quite humorous, and I did ask Ken if he felt a little bit of anxiety this morning, because I could feel that there was, he was shifting in here a little bit, and I just asked him, and what was your response?
No, but what I do feel is a level of responsibility, and it works in me in a way that I already know that there's a lot of things that I'm not really able to share, and I know that sometimes the transmission comes across from spirit and it seems a little tangled in its weaving, but that's how the spirit speaks. But I've also been told that what's about to transpire is you're not going to be able to share it per se in more of a platform like you're doing right now in its fullness, but it will be that we will embody it. And so we're simply translating a language of uniqueness so another may comprehend from one unique position. And in that, what I feel is responsible.
Exactly. This is, both Ken and I, we don't take this lightly when we share things. And so we love to bring forth the information to share with you truly our hearts in what we see through the sacred languages.
Well, someone said drop the shade.
I know, but we already did. It
We
was
already
Drew.
did.
I said it's already down. So
Sorry.
unless you want to try to put a towel or a blanket on it, you're just going to have to deal with some of the brightness, and we're limited with our recording space for the two of us.
Here,
So,
turn it towards you for a second, and I will put a blanket up there and see if that helps. But just turn it away that way while I do that, and that way I'm not.
okay.
If that's what they need.
We'll see if that helps. Somebody said nice aura, Ken. It was actually Lou.
Yeah. Lou, first of all, Lou, I chuckled this morning when you sent the cat riding the unicorn. That was the most awesome.
That was the best meme ever.
That was the most perfect picture to represent exactly the innocence of what's happening.
It was so
It was
good.
a kitten on a stuffed animal unicorn. It was priceless. I know.
It was like behold. What was it again? Behold the rider on the pale horse or something.
Yeah.
Death, whatever. I don't remember. I can't say it verbatim what that scripture is, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was a black
Death on a pale horse.
It was a black kitten on a stuffed animal. I was like, oh my goodness, how innocent is that? But anyway.
All right.
So, are we ready to go here? We want to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
We might as well just get.
So I want to start with this. And I'll ask you this, and we haven't done this in a while as far as like excavation in the morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some notes. I want to share some notes because what I want to release, I know some of the stuff I release, like I said before, it can seem a little tangled. It's only because that's how the Spirit speaks to me in some of my transmissions when it comes across as some people call it poetry. I've never really thought of it that way, but it's just me being honest to myself, coming from my well within. And so from that, Spirit is not really one that keeps to form by periods or punctuation. It simply is a flow. And it comes that way for me. And so that's how I share it. And so,
in other words, when we start sharing some of Ken's work, if you see typo errors or you see punctuation errors, just know that it's that full Spirit that's going on, because the Spirit really doesn't care about all of that stuff.
No. But in that, I want to share some notes. I know there's a lot of stuff. Everything that we have, since Carrie and I have come out, everything that we came out with is the message of death through life. Mm-hmm. In this innocent, when I say that, I mean in this innocent form, because death equates as life, and it means as beyond. If there's a south, then there's a north, and so it's that kind of a language. North would be the death revealed that was beyond, and south would be more of our becoming through a process of journey, and then the east would be the rendering through kind of a process. So I'm going to share some notes, and what I hope to get to is I want to tie a couple of things together. Hopefully I can get to it, but I want to try to connect the law of the sea through plasma, and then Horus, the Christ anointing, Metatron, and we cannot leave out Santa. And I say that in complete, because you cannot have one without the other, is my point. And so in this season that we're in I don't want to make this heavy, but it will be measured by its own weight based on proximity to how the viewer sees it, right? So if we are deep in our well, it's going to seem like, wow, I comprehend. But if we are still shallow in our well, it's going to seem like this is lofty. So this will be solely dependent on our own excavation of well. We all dig, and it's a lot, as Carrie and I know, there's a difference between digging the well other than passing someone a glass from your digging. There's a difference. And I know there's a lot of people that ask us, I said, what would you think the biggest question that we're asked about the response to like doing what we're doing? Like, do I need to do this as well? I'll answer my
I was like, wait a minute. I've had several questions that people say, and so I was trying to filter through what you were wanting me to share. But you got it. Go ahead.
So one of the biggest questions we get from people is do I need to do this as well? Because it is a lot of work, and yes, it is a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work. But I just simply wanted to address that question. No, you don't. None of us do. We have been given opportunity to choose, and there's a difference that when people, I know there's some confusion in we've been given free will. No, we haven't been given free will. We've been given the freedom to choose. There's a difference. And this is, again, I'm not telling you anything. I'm only sharing from where I am. What I have seen is there is only two wills, that of ill and that of well. And there's fractals between. So there's a difference there. We are giving opportunity to experience ourselves through the fractals from ill to well. Those are the only two wills.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So I just want to be clear to that. So in saying that, no, we all have the right to choose our process of from ill to well.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, how can I impose a restriction on anyone to say this is what needs to be done? We simply are speaking from the organicness of our own excavation and our own digging. And again, in that, we're talking about this morning about when we dig the well, the blessing of it is that we get to stop and examine an artifact in there and take it to our intimate chamber and look at it and play with it and like, whoa, look what I found, right?
And then I look at it and see it, and then there's champagne all over the place.
Right. And then from that, though, but we're still digging the well. And then from that, what we're able to do from that digging is pass a glass of water or a bucket of water from the forensic work. So no, we don't have to. But in saying that, though, the whole point of what I'm getting to about Horus, the postmaster, Santa, the Christ anointing of Metatron, is directly connected to the Aramic and the Hebraic language as a frequency. But so really what it is, it's only more of a direct pointing that is affirmation or affirms the construct of who we are going through the process of journey of self. Now, there's a lot of people, we can live in the ether and ponder a thought. The difference in the language is it solidifies as a stone under your feet.
Exactly.
There's no questioning. This is even that when you start to process it and see it for what it is, upon the revelation of pondering, it becomes solidified as reality. And that is now a stone to step upon. And if we do that enough, now we have a pathway made. So that's what the language does, that a word begets a sentence sentencing begets a verse begets a book.
That's so good.
And this is the point that I want to be making, that the measure of Metatron is a gift. It's the language of Metatron, is the language of the gift of measurement, or the gift of light, is a full measure called whole, and it's been called Metatron. And it's the language of electricity, but electricity is really an English word. Electricity means amber, and amber means the amber stone. And so it's a language of we've taken it and we've built something that it's not. We haven't rendered it clear, because everything about Metatron is clear. So we're going to go through some notes this morning, and my heart is to get to a blue Christmas. And so I want to have some fun, and I just say, Carrie, please, I'm going to go through some notes, but I want you to please, when you see something, as you do, I want you to point in it, but I do need to get to the Christmas point of what's happening right now, especially in this season, that the law of the sea is about to transact. And so I just want to bring clarity to this plasmatic state of being that resides within, for it is the well.
So in other words, Carrie, have fun with it, but don't slow down the process too much today, or else we're going to be here forever.
Yeah.
So, I get it. I hear you loud and clear.
So when we're talking about...
And just to let you guys know, I have not seen what Ken's going to present today. He's been hinting and sharing some things along the way, so it's going to be new to me as well.
Well, I'm going to be releasing something in a couple of days. Actually, Carrie's going to help, because she puts the graphics together, and then
I produce the video.
She produces the video, and I give her the contents, and then she produces it. But it's going to be reminiscent of the past stuff that I've done, that seems a little more flowish. Like I say, people call it poetry, or it simply is flow. It's more of a frequency to just be in versus hearing really what it's saying. For some, they can hear it. For others, it's just simply a heart frequency from spirit, from me to you. So this is the notes from what's coming, and it's based off, and it's called the law of the sea. And this is all based on a plasmatic state of being that is held to the construct of the fall, because the law of the sea is really a language of fall and rise. And so I want to bring some definition to this. So we're going to share a page. There's a lot of stuff coming out right now, and we're probably going to go into the season where science is going to meet the spirit. And what we're seeing is I'm seeing camps being built in the science side, and then there's those that are on the equation of the spiritual component of more of like the construct of word. But guess what? They're both going to fade, because neutrality's child will be in between them in innocence. I am science. And so we have a science language that is really deciphering and defining who I am and who you are and who we are as a people. There will be no need for science, because we will be the full representation of science knit together with the word to be called spirit.
Right. And so science is to know well.
Science is to know well. What
Right.
binds you is the breath within. Right. And so that's the tornado in the line. But we're still in the place right now where the world is trying to decipher. Right. This science language is beautiful, and it's a law of transaction that says this is this, and therefore
It's unification.
It's unification. But there's those that are in the science world, and there's those that are in the word world, and there's those of the innocence of children that are the middle path that simply are right now.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. So I don't try to dabble in, I've extrapolated out the word. I'm not really per se a scientist, other than I am a scientist, because I am science manifest. But I'm more spirit led. So I want to go into this law of extraction. I speak, my mantle per se is more of a language of law. It seems like everything through my lenses translates as the law of rightfully discerning allows for the establishment of its intention. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Okay. Well, that's all that matters.
Of course, I'm with you in our frequency in our own helm. So
okay.
I get you very well.
Okay, good. So there's a difference between that, and I got some notes, and I think so. We may look, but only the not BC. And so what I'm saying by that is we can look at a thing, but really prognostication creates neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity will create the reality. The prophet knows this well. It's the ability to see deep within the well, that from your well you project outwardly to restore wellness. A Nabi would know that, for he sees that within.
And Nabi, by the way, is a word for prophet in Hebrew. And Nabiah would be in Aramaic.
Right, Nabiah, yeah. So it'd be finalized with the Aleph, and
Yes.
this would be one completed.
Yes.
And so we will go back and forth. They're both important between Hebrew and Aramaic, but they're both important. But I fully comprehend the finalization of Aramic, the lofty citadel within, because you are fully established. The crown is fully measured and fully established and fully weighed as a measure of Metatron. So the law of expansion and contraction is the same as law of the sea. It's the same as the law of falls rising, because we're talking about the sea where it ebbs and flows. So the ebb and flow of plasma's body positions us through deposition. Now we're going to get into some words here that I know are going to seem a little like, what does he mean by deposition? Well, we're going to go into some science, and I'm going to show you some pictures so you can see why, right? All as I really know is in the innocence, that which will be lifted, and that which is not lifted will simply fall away.
That's so good. I'm not showing this yet. I'm just pulling it up so that I can track you.
Oh, okay.
So that when we share the screen, I'm
right.
ready.
Right.
So they're just seeing us
so
right now.
I want to bring into the measure that the micro world is the micro body. And so everything in the world is but an opportunity to experience ourselves. And it's just an outward expression. The world is a beautiful marble, but don't we can't lose sight of the brilliance within, because there's a shining marble within that we get to experience ourselves. That's how vast this thing is. And so the world and its expanse and oceans and trees and birds and lovely people, that is still within us. And so this macro world, because what's being birthed out of this world are celestials. We saw it in the movie, or not celestials. Yeah, the celestials. We saw it in the movie that actually we just watched. And I found it very fascinating because it's speaking a truth, but more of an obfuscated truth. It's not really saying, it's pointing in a direction that's a really lofty thing. It is a lofty thing, but that lofty thing is deep within your well.
It's also, we're talking about the movie The Eternals here.
Yes.
And it is, you can see it from many different perspectives.
Yes.
I was seeing it from a fear-based perspective of what someone would say that they're trying to present to us as fear-based. I also saw the side of the other portion where we're talking about the harvest time and what does that look like in birthing new celestial beings that begin to create. And this is why we like to bring some of the science into it as well, because of understanding that this energy that we talk about is just transformed into a new shape, new form. Consciousness, aka our soul fractal, never dies. So unless you have that concept of understanding that, you may watch a movie like The Eternals and get a little bit of fear-based and say, this is what they're saying that they're wanting to do with us. And then you miss the reason why the celestial was being born, because really that is a way of saying that, like the Law of One presents about the social memory complex that is being created and being born as a creator. So until all of this is said and done, we are functioning here in the earth, and we are bringing our light and love here to help ascend humanity in everything that we need to do to change us within, to manifest that reality externally. So go ahead.
Yeah. So it was an amazing picture to me how I saw it. It was Hollywood for sure. But I mean, there was parts of it that I could see that some of them even forgot who they were, and they went into the world and they became actors, and they just, and some of them maintained their position. But anyways, regardless, I want to keep to the points about the macro world is simply the micro body. And that's how I see things. I see it as a log of exchange that when I'm interacting, I'm realizing what I'm interacting with, and it's giving me the opportunity to arise from within. And so, because again, the components of celestial reside deep within my well. Right. My wrestle is wrestling well, right? And it's a language it points to itself. But so I wanted to share a little bit about why a blue Christmas and why we have a red Santa Claus. And not to go into the politics or into the conspiracy, but other than conspiracy means to conspire. And that word really means just to join together. And so I'm conspired with myself because I'm joined with my breath. So I'm a conspiracy. Okay. I need to render it clear so we know that I'm also conjuring, right? Because I'm fully aware of what I'm doing within myself. In the true language, I can take all the spooky away and I can say these words, and most people point a finger at and goes like, well, when you render it down to innocence, you realize really what it is. It's just neutralized in innocence. And so
right. And so really you're practicing abracadabra.
I'm practicing magic, and actually I am magic. We all are.
Yes,
It's just a level of realization. But anyways, I want to talk about the Red Walk, and why, even because we're going to talk about many movies here, even with Dorothy and the Wizard, about her red walk is really
her ruby slippers.
Her ruby slippers is really the red walk that's walking the golden means to the Emerald Tower. Red, by definition, would be south. We have to go through the bloody walk of the flesh through a measure of means to produce an intention, and the intention will be the northern light.
Which is amazing to consider that the name Adam, humanity or mankind, literally means red or ruddy.
Right.
And it's Adam, one blood.
Right.
So the essence of the unseen of the all that has been put into blood then makes up humanity.
Right. And so I'm trying to try to weave this so we can see why and how we've forgotten why we even have the representation of the month that we're in, and who's this character and why is he adorned in red? And because it's really you are Santa. I'll get to the point. You are Santa. And in your red sack is a gift.
Mm. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I don't even know what you're going to say yet, but I felt that.
So I'm going to draw the line through, but now why a blue Christmas and why, right? Because I need to go into the essence of really what's happening. Santa is just, so where does red come from? So red is from a beetle, actually. It's called the crimson bug, and it actually adorns itself to the Christmas tree of all things. The Christmas tree is an oak tree. And the story is that we see this crimson all through, and it may be white as snow. It's the crimson thread. It's where we even get Jacob when he was born. And I think it was Zarach, Strong's 2444, that he was called the first to breach or the first to rise. And yes, and his hand was adorned with the crimson thread when they said he was the first one to come out. Then he went in and wrestled, and then Esau emerged. But we have this language of crimson all through Scripture. But really what it stems from, it's a bug that adorns itself to the Christmas tree. And the female, when she's about to lay her egg, she gets on the tree and she attaches herself to the tree. And they say that it's almost impossible to pick her off. She's so adhered to the tree for the purpose of birthing the next cycle. And so she lays her larvae. And what happens after 3 days, she disintegrates. The hatchlings are born, and what she does is she impregnates them with red dye. They're marked for life. After that, they devour her. She totally covers them on the tree while they go through their metamorphosis into what she is, but she dyes them for life. What happens afterwards? It's amazing, the story of the crimson beetle, and this is where we get the word in Scripture. It's called, "Oh Jacob, you worm." Now you go into the definition. Oh, worm goes to the crimson. It's not a worm. It means the beetle, right? Oh, you're going to crawl on your belly as a worm through the red shoes and through the ruby slippers. So you would know the golden means to rise back to the standard of intention. So it's right from Genesis.
I do want to answer this before you don't lose that train of thought. Yes, the Kabbalists wear a red thread. It's because it is connected to Jacob, and it has to do with the first who shall rise, the Zarach.
Yeah.
And it has to do with light. It has to do with Adam Kadmon. It's connected to Oretta. It's connected to the light of who we are. So
this is the process of measure. And yes, Christopher, ruddy. It is the ruddy walk. It's the bloodied, ruddy walk of revelation that produces this. You cannot get to Oretta without bloodying your feet. I'm sorry. If you've reached any form of light without blooding your feet, then you're most likely in the dark arts without going through the rendering clear. It's impossible to get to enlightenment of the fullness of what Retta is and is innocent without being saturated by foot upon foot, stone upon stone. It's impossible. I'm sorry. Right. It was the whole purpose of the law being the law. It's the law of ebb and flow. It's the law of ascension and fall. It's a law that it only establishes itself by becoming the law's measure. So yes, the ruddied walk. So the beetle covers the larvae. They are hatched. The mother then, after a period of time, she curls up, and it says verbatim, she curls up from tail to head, and she turns as white as a snowflake, and she falls off of the tree. Now that's the science of red and where it goes. And so we have a journey of red. This is why even we have a red, white, and blue narrative as an overcasting standard, as a theme, as a flag, as a beacon, as a representation of a nation. You are the nation within. And so we have a red, white, and blue concept going on, but most of us see it as a distant flag and not the flag bearer within. It's right. A standard.
And so what we're sharing is we're not talking about nationalism here.
No.
At all. So I just want to make that perfectly clear.
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
This is about a movement of spirit within you, so declaring a story.
So let's clear the pieces off the board. Okay, perspective. I'll share this. It'll be in the piece. So I was walking the other day, and the Spirit shared with me, pulled up a chess game, and the Spirit said, Ken, of all the pieces on the chessboard, what piece and how do you see yourself? And I was going, interesting. And I know the Spirit when it works with me, and I'm going like, it wants me to think. And I pondered for a while, and I responded back with this. And again, our own perspective, we could say many things. I'm the king. Well, wait a minute. The queen guards, or the king guards the queen. The queen's the most valuable piece on the board, right? But upon pondering, the spirit said to myself, and so I repeated it out loud, the case. And the reason I say that is it holds all the pieces.
Including the board.
Including the board.
That's right.
If I see things with the right perspective, I'm everything. I'm not playing anyone. I take the board out when I need to see where I am in my moment, to see a perspective, to wrestle a black and white narrative within for a resolve. As soon as I find my resolve, everything goes back into the case. This is a lawsuit language. The language of Oretta is a language of law that needs to be solved. Therefore, I'm a solved case.
Oh my gosh, that was good.
When I'm fully resolved
Wow.
within myself from the position of perspective, and I see things objectively from the subject lesson, I am solved. And so when I share things, I'm not tethered to the lesser narrative of the construct and the limitation of what this world is defined by. This is, again, do you need to study the language? I don't know. From my well, it is showing me the language of beyond, that I am from beyond, and therefore you speak from beyond. So that's what I want to make sure, that we're not getting caught into the lesser narrative of tethering to an old paradigm. This is something new, and I just but I want to keep this light. I don't want to go too into the forensics per se. I want to keep it in a place that Carrie and I can just share Santa. So the red shoes really is why they crossed the Red Sea. But it wasn't necessarily the Red Sea. It was called the Reed Sea. Again, I'm going back to, is the word important? The Reed Sea is the word where we get papyrus from, where we get paper.
Right.
The Reed Sea is the bloodied walk. And your bloodied walk is a summation of word upon word. Word upon word begets a sentence begets a verse begets a book. Is it important to be in the word? For self-sentencing, to write the book correctly, for the verdict of innocent or guilty, or well or ill. For me, it's a question that I've already come to my own resolve, because I'm solved.
Oh, that's really interesting. Sefer, book.
We're going to go there.
Soph.
We're going there.
Resh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to go there.
Simmer down, Carrie. It's not time to have
Think
champagne.
Christmas here. So think, if we keep this on a good level, we can think of the Book of Lifesavers.
I used to get one of those every year for Christmas when I used to celebrate it.
And I share this in love, and I share this in hope, and I share this in restoration, and the promise of truth that needs to be revealed. I release the frequency. The gift is that if one man finds it, another may have it. So I freely release this. It hasn't been freely excavated, but what I'm allowed to release, I freely release, so you would ingather. So I simply release the frequency that is purpose for each individual that's here listening right now.
Agreed.
Okay?
Agreed. So
the Reed Sea is the same language of Dorothy going to the Emerald Tower. We're simply going to the mountain of exchange. It's a Moshe language that by the bloody feet, by the ruddy walk, we become realized as emerald. This is now what we call the Northern Lights. This is where we got the North Pole from. Okay? So what we have to try to get beyond, for Carrie and I'll speak, are we still in the stall of our head? Or are we well established in the distilling of our heart?
Yeah, and that's only you could only answer that.
This is a rhetorical question, but I'm going to.
And you know how much I love those.
I know you do. So, but I will say this: the power is not in the dam; the power is in the turbine of well. Okay. So that's where we get propulsion within us, that the language of light within us is not in this mindset of the head knowledge that keeps me distant from my heart pumping light.
So this is, if we bring it in, negentropy.
Yes, but I didn't want to, yes, absolutely.
Well, just because that recently that was shared on the channel. So anybody who actually watched that with Steve and I would know that we shared that. We
are a vortex. The Spirit's already released that now it's going to come to fruition to those that have journeyed to the well and know the turbine language. It's a propulsion device. The law of the sea, the law of exchange, the law of arising and falling is all the same language. It's the law of contraction and expansion. It's the language of turbine. All the same. We're just simply coming from fractals and points of rendering clear what is Metatron, what is Horus, what is Santa, what is the Christ anointing. For this is deeply resides within us. So the law of rise and fall. So let's go to the picture so we can see the picture of why I use the word deposition or deposition. It's the same word. And this is more of a science language where we can use a language of exchange. Yep. Of where we see. So we see from.
Hold on, I got to share it first.
She's sharing. Okay.
There's steps I have to take.
Am I okay with people here? Is this
I'm not seeing anybody is having issues with anything you're saying. I'm monitoring the chat. So
okay.
We're all good.
So the law of fall and rise, a deposition, the opportunity to go up to encounter plasma's peak. This is a mountain. Now, this is Moshe here. It's just in more of a science form to say plasma would be the peak of the mountain, but we have to go in through sublimination to ionization to comprehend what plasma is. Moshe would have known that, and he would have come down through recombination back into a state of being, into deposition, back to matter. And he came down in form. So he was going back and forth to gather enough ingredients of language to bring it back down to show people what is being built.
Right, which is exactly the same thing that the writings say that Yeshua did.
Right.
In the Mount of Transfiguration.
Absolutely.
Same thing.
There's a law of transmuting that is bound by its law. It's a face that faces the face that reflects the measure of intention. So intention become exactly that. It's the measure that reflects itself as the standard.
Right. And the word would be kalaf. And so kalaf is those who have found life, that instructed their heart in the way of life. They will turn and face and speak as those who have been altered, changed, and transmuted.
All right. So what goes up must come down, and what comes down is gone up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So there we go. It's the law of exchange. And so now let's go down a little bit, and let's get this language of deposition from etymology. So deposition to sublime, because sublime, I've heard sublime used as it's like an endpoint. I'm sublime, and I've used it myself, but I've used it for a purpose, and I know what purpose I'm using it for. So I want to bring clarity to it.
Before we go any further, I just want to let you guys know that when we screen share, we cannot see your questions at all.
Right.
So if you are asking questions, I will let you know when we can see the comments. You can re-ask questions then. Otherwise, we will have no idea what you guys are sharing right now.
We'll go back and forth.
We'll pop back and forth. But I just wanted to let you know
This
we're not going to be ignoring you. We just can't see you.
This is going to be a lot. And so I need to get to a point. We don't get to Santa. We're missing the point here. So I want to make sure we have fun with this as well. And it is what it is. We're sharing. I'm sharing from my well. I'm giving you glasses of water from my well, and it's only a unique expression. So take it for what it is and discard and use or not, or it doesn't really matter to me.
Or flush it.
But anyway, so deposition, as we see in the picture, or we did see in the picture, deposition that's what we could define as the fall. It means you're no longer in position. The position was grace. Oh, how far you fallen from grace, oh shining one.
Right.
You're in deposition.
Right.
Now you have to experience sublime back to ionization, back to plasma, which is defined as the Emerald Sea, the Northern Lights.
Okay.
Yeah. The North Pole.
Right.
So this language of deposition.
So in other words, traveling to the north on the compass.
Traveling to north on the compass
is
a position of plasma.
Okay.
We see it in the resonance form of matter called plasmatic state of being, which would be a resonance called Northern Lights. It's telegraphing through as a frequency of sunlight, and it's manifesting in our construct as a flickering sword.
Oh, that's good.
So this is the face of Father telegraphing through. It says, I'm in the lofty place. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this language from deposition to sublimation or to sublime is really expressing lofty ideas in an elevated manner. But again, is it in your head?
Or is it in your heart?
Or is it in the turbine of your heart producing its intention?
Man, that's good. Is it in the turbine of your heart? I so love that.
Well, this is where we get the dam up from. If we don't move the water, we have blockage.
And then we're in stagnation.
Then you're in stagnation. You're in the still place of the stall.
Which doesn't produce life.
It does. Our aura is expanded when turbines are fully blasting, that the draw is exact measure of what's being expelled. When we're in flow, this is that defines flow.
That's so good. that which we're drawing is that which has been expelled.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
So that is
That's
the language,
great.
and that is called the law of flow.
Right.
Okay, because everything is a legal language to me,
Yep.
language transaction. It has to meet the measure of its intention. That in that measure, we see it as a standard, and it's established as its intention.
Yeah.
We're speaking of frequency here.
Right. Right.
And if we see it, then it's manifest in this reality as the potential of its intention.
So in other words, see as it, not at it.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
simply bringing fractal frequency in, and I'm constructing it before us as a potential that would be purpose for such a time as this.
Yeah. This is my favorite thing to do with you, by the way.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Let's look at this language of the language of sublime. So deposition means deposition. So we're out of a position for a purpose to know this. We're experiencing it. This is the ruddied walk. We have to know what this is, and you're only going to get to the measure by bloodying your feet.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And by the way, Dorothy means a gift of God. So this is a gift. If we see it correctly and we have gratitude, thank you so much, Creator, Father, Mother, grandparents, for the opportunity to experience this. In the generosity of your giving, I lay down my reward and say thank you for the opportunity to experience who you are.
Kudutha.
So it means an uplifted, high, borne aloft, extended, eminent, really distinguished, sloping, but it also means up to the lintel.
I know, I saw that.
So now it says up to the threshold, but it does not say enter in. So this is going into Hebrew idioms and concepts that if you don't move beyond your head, you will never enter into your heart. If
Right.
you're in the sublime of thought and
Right.
thinking that your lofty thoughts have got you into the place of salvation, the deep well of turbine, then you're mistaken.
Right.
Sublime is only a part of the piece. When you see all the pieces, you're solved as the case.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Perspective. When we see the perspective from the vantage point of mountaintop, we see the valley well. So
That's so good. That's such a play on words too.
yes.
Oh, that's so good.
So subliminal, this is where we get the word subliminal from. Now, again, we were talking about this earlier on, that if your turbine isn't properly producing, you're most likely in turmoil.
Right.
So subliminal is a concept from the lesser construct that if we're still in the lofty of our head, and the powers to be of influence in the lesser narrative per se, I'm going to be careful here because it just is what it is to me, that we can be subliminally directed into turmoil. Turmoil means you're turning oil, you're producing their sublime message. Oil begets oil regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So thought, when we realize what oil is, it's the process within that renders clear that which you partner with. This is why, again, going back to the first question, is it important for me to go into the word? It's oil in matter.
For your lamp.
The word is not only, the word is, in innocence, when we fill it up, it is oil that is in the construct of matter.
So I just wanted to share, because in the Wise and Foolish Virgins,
Mhm.
when it says to get oil for your lamp,
Mm-hmm.
that word lamp actually means garments.
Right.
So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
our lamp, it's our garments of light.
We could, yes. And for you and I, we could come from fractal to fractal from our perspective to make point, right? Because you're coming from a fractal to make a point. And yes, you and I could spin this thing 360 and say, this is saying the same thing. And we can make a sphere right here, and it's all saying the same point.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate that, because you're rendering it down to assist others that they can connect it to the garment within.
Exactly.
'Cause
And if they watch the teachings, I'm just trying to connect the dot, because that was something I did a while ago.
Well, this is the language of looming, right?
Exactly.
The weft and the waft is
Yep.
the left and the right.
Yep.
The weaves as one, and there we are as well.
So we're weaving the garments of light.
Absolutely.
And the oil is that oil that is necessary, which is the word mashak.
Yeah, gotta move here.
From Mashika.
Yeah. So
I know.
no, not you,
much.
not you, me.
I
Sorry.
was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute,
yeah.
I've hardly said anything.
No, I know it's me. But these are really important
Oh.
points, that we realize that we can live in turmoil
Right.
if we have a subliminal overtone.
Right.
If we're caught into the construct, and I know everyone on this channel that listens to us or shares are part of our family, I know that you are beyond the material world, I hope, because it is a subliminal message that has an intention that will produce its oil of intention, and its oil of intention is called turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Entropy.
It's a termation or a language that in turn is resolving itself to produce, and their whole language is actually an oxymoron in itself, because what they're trying to produce is they're making unsustainable sustainable. That's turmoil.
Right.
Okay. So let's go beyond that. The next place is ionization. My point of making this is the language of deposition or deposition into sublime then goes into ionization, right? So the language of ionization, when we look at it in etymology, it means go.
Which is amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we know that the language of
Yeah.
go, you have to activate in this word, because it's a frequency. Remember, it's not stagnant, it's stilled light. We have to distill the light by going into the light.
That's so good.
We are given the opportunity, again, going back to what we shared, to choose.
Right.
Ill will or well will, as there's
Right.
only two. But you're going to have to either go into the light to reveal the dark, or you're going to go into the dark to reveal the dark, because there is no light there.
Right.
So we're saying go to the right, go into the light, so you can render clear the shadow work. Now the Hebrew word for this is bull. Mm-hmm. And I put in here build, so one may arise as built. Now that bull is, that's why I put the oath in there, that it's the same, except for the bet is building one.
Right.
Right. So that bet is saying, like, what am I'm building a sign.
You're building on the inside to connect to your heart,
yes,
so that you can be connected to Oreta.
Right.
So to the source of all.
Right.
Everything.
Now, because what we said about is the word important earlier on, the word begets the word, and then we have verbatim. That's what verbatim means. We go into by verbatim, word begets word, to produce a sentencing. When sentencing is rendered clear, it's called innocent. When you have innocence, now you write the verse of innocence. In that verdict, I'm solved as a case, and I verdict myself to say, I am innocent and resolved as case. Case solved. I am now allowed to move dimensionally.
Which allows you to come in and go.
Right.
Come and go.
So think about it. If you're writing a sentence and the whole purpose is to know the cover from cover, then this is where we get the language of Sephirot. Right? That is the finalization right there, is the book is the sign sealed before it is open.
So it's Sephir
Ot. Right. So
a sign, a signal, a beacon, and a miracle.
Completed.
One who started at the beginning, connected to their heart, and finished the journey of completion.
Absolutely.
The Aleph, the Tav. The Aleph is the beginning. The Tav is the end.
Yes.
People would know this is Alpha and Omega.
Right.
In Greek, because that's.
So let's go through this look, because remember, I know we're going to be a while here, but I get to center. So plasma. So let's see what plasma is in etymology. Now, plasma, Carrie, you found this word this morning. We're going to.
Oh, I did. I was super excited.
We're gonna use this because it's down below. But I thought, okay, I'll bring it up because she brought it up. I'm going, this is perfect. This is awesome. So plasma is really, as the plasma seed, as the law of the seed, as Oreta, this would be a language that can connect to it because it's pure and clean. It's rendered as innocent. It's a resolved case. This would be Metatron. This could equate to Metatron, to the Christ anointing, as well as who else did I have on my list there? The postmaster from the language of quantum grammar.
Yeah.
Like they have the
yes,
so we're gonna connect this postmaster language too. Yeah. So this language of plasma in etymology means to form into shape, something molded or created, hence image. We go into tessalim in the Hebrew, in our image, in our likeness.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't want to get too much, right? And I don't want to get too much into the deep well. I just want to pass off glasses of water. You can open them later. You can open the bottled water, right. So now we have purity within. This is the image. This is the desire, is the delight. The desire is that we would become the light of the sea. That's plasma. That's the desire. That's the law. The desire is that we would know the law well, so we'd be well desired as lights well.
Well, and it's interesting if you look at Dan White's work.
Yeah.
New.
Yeah.
Okay, so what isn't highlighted on the other side of this new? This has to do with the sun.
Yeah.
This has to do with the negentropy within us. This is plasma.
That's plasma.
This is what makes us new.
This is why it's here.
And then the bet means on the inside.
So
that's all I'm going to ask.
So the spirit shows me this organically. I'm only taking you to my rendering. So when I release what I'm going to release, it's more of a code of law. All I'm doing is releasing law from what I'm sharing. I really don't I mean, I care if people comprehend me, but I've gone beyond that now where I used to have a fear like people don't get what I'm saying, but I've lost that insecurity and going like, no, the spirit just said, no, you just need to release it as a tangible exchange because it's called the law of exchange. So Tessalim means the image. This is again in the Aramaic now, the Tessalim. This is where Daniel said, this is the statue. This is what he would have seen with the statue. So it's connected. I want to bring the Hebrew and the Aramaic in.
Right.
So desire hunt the teachings of the mighty light. It's flowing in your blood,
right,
as it is the plasma sea. The law of the sea resides within you and it flows in your bloody veins.
Right. And I've already shared that.
Right.
Like in John, the book of John 1:8, it literally says light is in your blood.
Right. So this is just more of the schematics of connecting. So people, because there's something about the realization of what it is that we can like, oh my goodness. And I'll have, if anyone wants these notes, I will put them up. I'll work through you because this whole file on Metatron, the final compilation, because this is a song. The blood sings the song through the ruddy walk. We become the song of the North Pole.
I would ask if anybody would like this, that you would offer an energetic exchange for Ken's work. Because how many hours have you put into this one file?
7 years.
Okay.
I mean, it's combined, but yes, there's a lot here. But yes, but we'll talk about that after. But let's go into the C. So let's define C.
Just saying it because I want your work honored.
I know, and I appreciate that. My wife protects me. I give everything away, and she has to help me with
I
that.
like to find the balance between.
Yeah, it's just some things are important to me, but I know that we need to eat and keep the lights on and that too. But anyway, so let's go down to the C here. And let's see what the C is from the perspective of etymology. And so let's just go through this together. So large quantity, holy, doubtful, right? There's a process in here. It's interesting, some of the etymology. But we have a language here that connecting with size, inland, open, salt or fresh, lake and marsh. And now this is really interesting because this whole language, and you see it from a perspective of like a chess game versus being the king or the queen or the pawn of the knight. When you see it as the case, you're realizing that you're seeing from a different perspective. And this is the sea is but a journey of you and us as we, and we are simply in progression of rendering this clear. Because when the marshland is simply a place that is seeking fresh and salt, right? It's going to an open body from a narrow channel or from a drip and a drop. We find the expanse of ocean, right?
Right.
So this roots down to ocean, goes into mer or mer, a voice, pure, clear, absolute.
Wow.
And this is all from it. And this is
to gleam, shimmer, and sparkle.
Right.
That's Nura.
Right.
That's Nahara. That's Nura in Aramaic.
Ray, beam.
Yeah.
Pure,
that's
shining.
That's Nura. That's also Shua.
Right.
That's part of the name of Yeshua.
That's what's in here, right?
My goodness.
And it's nothing less in its
Wow.
fullness sense of absolute. Now
that's a representation of the Aleph.
Yeah.
Actually, everything right here is a representation of the Aleph as the unseen absolute, the light of all, the Oreta.
Well, yes, absolutely. So it has to be, because remember, if in the macro of the world, if you're the micro representation, then the sea is rendered clear within you. If the land,
the sea of humanity.
if the land represents the flesh components or the denser parts of our being,
right,
then the sea would represent the
The
blood,
light,
the
the
blood
Yeah.
flow, right?
Right.
And so it would have to render clear as light.
Right.
It would have to. But
Right.
if the spirit was to show me, if it didn't connect with me, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, spirit. Like, so when I get affirmation like this, I'm going like, yes, it's telling me the story.
Well, and how interesting is that the sea, salt water,
Yeah.
and our blood has salts in it.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, we'll die without it.
yeah.
Because there's a mixture of, you have to have Remember, the mem in paleo means mighty blood, but also mighty water.
Right. And it's either waters of chaos or shalom.
And the sodium crystal is it called a, we don't need to get into that language of science, but anyways, you have to have the salt crystal in your blood. You have to have it. And that's a whole nother teaching, but we can do that at a time. So let's just, hey girl. So let's just, Mishka, you're fine.
I know. Somebody's going upstairs that really upsets you.
So let's just go through this a little bit.
Thank you for being a good guard dog.
So it's a boundary and an object, a boundary, a marker, and a wall. And now we have this language of hence, now we're talking the same language. Now I was talking pole tree standing as a mark, as a boundary. Okay. Now, remember, we're talking plasma as the crystalline sea, as finality in its process of becoming. If we were on a journey, if the ruddy walk of south was a progression of becoming, what is our destination? If we calibrated from the west and we knew that right is defined as south and righteousness and affirmation, and we're risen into the east measure, because that means Aman, or Kadmon, then what are we seeking in the finality of resolve? North.
Right.
So north, by definition, so we're looking at language of polemics here. This is where the turbine of the world is but a macro of the turbine within. If we're dammed up, we have no power producing ability because we have a jam in the turbine.
Right.
You have to know the journey is solely dependent of turbine functioning in proper measure, Metatron, as a catalyst of light exchange. You have to know the journey from South Pole to North Pole.
Well, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see that, because even so, based on some of the things that have been released recently about entropy and negentropy, if you stay stagnant, if you do not move at all, this is what my friend Kathleen was sharing with me. You're in diapause.
Yes.
You're literally not doing anything.
Yes.
Nothing.
You're
so you aren't generating anything.
It's a toxic well. It's
so
called,
you have to start the turbine.
Yes.
Hence why you have to make the right hand path.
All we're doing is giving a glass of water, and hopefully someone throws it in the well, and they can produce a little pump.
So it's from the inside
This
out.
is why we all we're doing is pre-priming. We're just pre-priming. So let's go
pre-priming the pump.
Right. So let's go through this thing. So C, the high C, the rising one. Look at this language. This is etymology.
Right.
The rising one.
Right.
Heave.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the law of the sea is based on, now it's connected to rising. The law of falling is directly connected to the law of rising.
And rising has to do with the east.
The law of contraction is directly connected to the law of expansion.
Right.
The law of what is you're pulling from the plasma sea is turbining into the potential to raise one.
Right. So priming the pump of the heart that is churning out the plasma aura.
Right. So now let's go down a little further. Now this word from sea is going down to heave, to lift, to raise, to exalt, to grasp, right? These are all.
This is connected to Aramaic.
Yes.
Aramic.
Yes, it should be. It has to be.
Mishka.
It's simply as a Mishka girl. So this whole language now is transmuting. So now let's go into what the sea is in the definition of Hebrew. Sorry, we got people leaving beside us here, so it's a little noisy. I apologize, but it'll be quiet down here in a second. The dog gets upset. But so now the law of the sea. So now let's go Tihon.
Well, and because the dog gets a cassette, the cat shows up.
Yeah, the cat shows up. I'm just thankful we don't have a monkey or a giraffe.
Oh my gosh. Unless one of us is the monkey and the other one is the giraffe.
I don't want to be the giraffe. I want to oversee it. I want to. I don't want to get caught up in the curtains. Okay.
Okay.
So,
that's funny.
So now the sea. So when we can take the language of the sea from the etymology, now we need to wheel this into Hebrew, so we can see what, because this is where etymology would have arisen from. So now we have Tihon. Now we have the deep sea, the abyss, and so.
Oh my gosh!
So now we have
That's the mirror.
It's the mirror.
That's the mirror of death.
That's the mirror of death. So now the sea within you is the
Whoa.
crystalline sea called the law of plasma, the crystalline sea. Now we're going to get to how this has to be balanced because the spirit just showed me
Wow.
the powers to be know this, but they don't, because the law of the sea is solely dependent on calm waters. A vessel knows one thing well, and that is upright. The law of the sea as a vessel, as an outward manifestation or an outward metaphor, is the vessel knows upright well. That law is dictated to by pitch, yaw, and roll. That law is not, now, there's only a component. That's the compass. But we have to remember that if we see the pieces of the chessboard correctly, and that we are all pieces as resolved as the case, then as the compass as the piece, so is a gimbling. The gimbling holds the compass in place to know what upright is. A ring upon a ring holds true to center.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because upright is Yasher.
Right.
Yasherel.
Right. So in this, no, yeah, exactly. Right. So now we're going into the measure of intention, that we're going into to define what is salvation, what is Israel as a prevailing presence that overstands as a state of being.
Right. We're not talking about a state,
No.
a piece of land. We're talking about a state of being.
I'm talking about a state of being.
Right.
So I don't want to have to go back.
Just want to clarify.
Yeah. So Tiamat here in this picture right here, if we've gone through the sea to say it's the law of rise, that is, and now it's saying that it's a concept. Now in the movie that just came out, the Celestials, what came out of the earth?
The Eternals.
The Eternals.
Yeah.
Out of the core of the earth, and if the earth is a macro and we're the micro, from within us comes an eternal.
The Celestial.
The Celestial, sorry. So, right, we're already in the earth as an eternal. Most of us are, that have the blood within us, that are going by right ascension, by the law of return, which is the law of the sea.
Right.
Then we have the ability to become celestial.
I totally agree.
From where? From within the well. Not from within the ill, from within the well.
I hope people are connecting that play on words.
There is only one well. It's called the wish of desire. So when we say well, whether people are connecting it to a dug water source, again, if you see the case correctly from the pieces being all gathered in one box, you're realizing, wait a minute, a well is but a metaphor for me.
Right.
Am I self-dug? And are my turbines well working?
Right.
And do I have expansion within?
And do I have the oil to keep the turbine still greased so it continues to function?
Right.
Mashach.
I know this is lofty, but we're going to get to some fun part of this. But anyway, so from deep within the well, from our core of being, the celestial will surface. This is what's happening. This is the season we're going into. And so we can look at this word for Tiahom, and this is where we get the word Tiamat. Now, Tiamat was also in the movie. That's Tiamat.
I know.
Tihamat. And it means life and death in one breath.
So just to let you guys know, here it is right here. And that literally is how you say Tiamat.
Yes.
And the reason why we're saying it's life and death here is because you have the mirror, you have Tehom, and then you have Mut. You have Tehom means not only the sea and the abyss, but this is a word that means to be twinned.
Yes.
It means to perfect and complete.
No, think of twinning, because this is really important, because this goes back to Gemini and what there's so much in this. There's so much in this, but this right here, if a gimbler is two rings that position or balance. A gimbler does this. It's like a gyroscope.
Right.
That's what it is. And we'll break this down in what I'm sharing, hopefully this time or another time. But it's the same as a gyroscope. Think of wheels upon wheels.
Ezekiel 1, yes.
If you are centered inside of wheels upon wheels, as the twin rings are within you, if they're measured by a law, then the law will come forward as a representation of law.
Right. So a big way that you can look at this is in Jodie Foster's Contact. She sat inside the wheel of the wheel.
Right.
She was the one that was on the inside.
Everything telegraphs.
I know it
everything.
does.
So that I'm just saying that the law of the sea is based on not just the compass, based on the gimbling factor of what keeps the vessel upright.
Right.
If you're on a roll and a pitch and a heave and a yaw, most likely you're being tossed in the sea of humanity. If
Right.
you found the
Which would be the waters of chaos.
which is the waters of chaos.
Right.
But and again, we're speaking an outside perspective. But again, what is it speaking?
The inward reality.
Because it is only a measure that's showing you what resides within. It's the peace beyond peace. And so this is a huge component. The law of the sea is the compass and the gimbal and the vessel. There's components here. The law of the sea is like a 3-pronged trident. It's called pitch, yaw, and roll. When you comprehend those 3 components, we're going to try to break that down, we will know center well.
Is this supposed to be whisper instead of whipper?
Hmm?
From a whipper comes, is that a whisper?
I don't know. From a whimper. Whimper, sorry. I guess I hit the wrong one. Yeah, from a whimper comes the turning. Yeah, so this is how I speak to myself. I speak to myself in poems. When I see something, the Spirit says, write it this way. So from a whimper comes the turning of red street's wine. A couple matured as a roaring declaration, giving witness of vow, fulfilling as sign.
That's so good.
So what I'm saying right there, this is where Yeshua would have said, this is the wedding feast where no longer, the water is now turned into wine, but from immaturity comes maturity. This is the coupling of the 2 rings of the left and the right. And it's also the gimbling that holds the compass true. From this comes the declaration of the wedding vow, fulfilling as a sign.
Oh my goodness. The home without the tov.
Yes.
So if you don't have if you haven't completed the journey, you've never found the abyss within. And because you haven't, you murmur and you've been defeated.
You've been defeated.
You've been defeated.
Yes.
You have to complete the journey.
Yes. What I do with these, I gather these little stanzas and I go through, this is how I teach myself, the Spirit teaches me, is I write these little stanzas and then I collect my stanzas and I put them in formation called poem.
Right.
And then in the frequency of extrapolation, now I have a frequency that shows me, it's a turbine to me. So let's go through this. So we got to get down. We got a lot in this. Okay, Metatron. I hope that people are grasping this. Well, whatever.
I'll pop back out and see what's
So
going
Metatron
on.
is Horus. Horus is
I
Metatron.
Okay.
Both formed and molded as the brilliant Christ anointing. The plasmatic state as being phosphorus. Because this is what's in us. We all doing well, everyone?
Well, so far I don't see anything. I've missed a lot here, but everybody seems to
I'm
be
hoping
doing
people
okay.
can just chill with us until we get to Santa, because it really it blessed me, and I'm going like, hopefully it blesses you to realize what's been hidden from us. So I'll try to go through this a little quicker. So Horus is broken down. Horus, by definition, Horus in Egyptian time, his name would have been Hor or Har. In Hebrew, Har means mountain. Now it's really interesting because it directly connects to light. So, but we need to see, because in the word phosphorus is Horus.
Right.
So phosphor, it means light, or a light measure. And so we're going to break this down to see what this is. So phosphorus, a substance in an organism that shines of itself. That's light bringing, also the morning star.
That is huge. If you guys can connect this, if you know some of your writings in English, you will know exactly who this is connected to and what this is.
Well, I'm going to make it pretty obvious here.
Okay.
So let's break it down from Har is. Har, mountain.
Right.
Ur, flame, light.
Yes.
Sus, right? To exalt, to rejoice. And then Semek, it means the horse, or it means rapid flight.
So just to let people know, this progression from the Sheen to the Semek, you have to go through both twin flames of the essence of the spiritual fire of mother and father, both connecting to the heart level, so that you can get the twin rings of authority. One is the wedding ring and the other one is the signet ring.
Right. So now if we see it in our wedding language as one is an engagement ring and one finalizes.
Right.
So that's why we have the split rings. Again, going back to the language of the gimbler or the gyroscope, you need both rings. You need the engagement ring that has gone through the proper protocols,
which shows that you're set apart
of the vow, that fulfills the vow as matured to now be adorned and bedecked with both rings.
So now you have the authority, the signet ring, as one who is royal.
Absolutely. This would be Lila and Hela.
exactly.
Or Lilith and Hallel. It'd be the
Yes.
same measure.
Yes.
So this is again how I speak. So let's go down a little bit because it says the Zeus is the swallow, the swift, the bird.
Right.
This will tether to the hawk of Horus.
Okay.
And so let's read this as a poem. It's easier for me to So this is extrapolating out Har, Zeus, or no.
Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
The revelation of arisen is as ascending the mountain top, as the capstone of the head, as one expanded in flight, as one chiefly stands, as sovereignly centered, as a horse brightly saddled between the two rings of light.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes.
I love the way you write.
Okay.
It speaks to my heart.
So
thank you for sending me lovely love letters.
Yeah. Well, this is just me being me.
I know, but
yes.
I'm making it personal.
I know.
See as it instead of at it.
I know. You're not allowed to do that. I know. So something kept on coming up with me, and it came up a while ago, and I said, the Spirit said, put it in here, and people can take it for what they want to do or not want to do. But the song kept on coming up when I was a child, and I had a friend that always asked for the song whenever we were in music class, and they said, what song do you want to sing? And he always wanted to sing The Drunken Sailor. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm so sick of that song. And I haven't thought about that for like 50 years. And all of a sudden, just like last month, this song came up, and it was like people were saying like, dude, like, where's this coming from? Like, I know, right? But the song is only in one verse only. What do you do with a drunken sailor? If you're in the law of the sea, then you know this. What do you do with a drunken sailor? Wehe, up she rises early in the morning. We are beyond the measure of being drunk for myself. The level of maturation now takes form.
Yes.
Wehe, up she rises early in the morning.
Right.
This is where the Spirit meets us, and this is what we share. So I mean no disrespect. I don't mean that if you want to drink, however you want to drink, please drink. I'm not saying
and
that.
Ken, speaking of the spiritual drink that can cause someone to be looking like they're inebriated, drunk in the spirit.
Right.
That's what he's talking about.
And again, I'm being innocent with this. The Spirit just said that it's time to move into the place of knowing what is steady, knowing what is true, knowing what is sound.
Putting the childish things away as we move into maturation.
There is no wobble at light speed.
That's right. Or else, yeah, no, that would
There
be disastrous.
is no shaky knees or shaky legs. You are resounding, purposely said, because sounding is a level of depth.
That's so good.
Okay, so now let's go through this again. So there's Har, there's what it is. Now Horus, this is so that you can see Horus. I had highlighted that it says Har. Har in Hebrew 2022 means mountain, and there it is. It also means God in the form of a falcon, whose right eye was the sun as the morning star. That was phosphorus.
That's right.
Representing power and quintessence, whose left eye was the moon or evening star. Well, that sounds like Lilith and Hallel.
Yes, it does.
Representing healing, wellness,
Right.
in innocence, right?
Right.
Now, I have a file
Right.
there. We're not going to go to it.
Right.
But let's go on. Zephon. Now, I put this because this is the mirror of 2202 for mountain, and it means the northern boundary of the promised land, meaning to be fragrant.
So connect this to the scent of the rose.
The scent of the rose.
If any of you guys have watched that.
The reason I put this in here, because this is how the Spirit speaks to me when it speaks, especially the 222, and all of a sudden I'm somewhere, and then when I'm on this, it says here, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, so I've learned to be obedient to bring these in because everything's connected.
Right.
Everything.
All is all.
Everything's connected.
Right.
So on this verse of Numbers 34:9, it speaks, the last word is this place of being fragrant, this northern, now again, we're talking about Christmas and the North Pole. This is the northern boundary of the promised land. This is a pole position because you've already established north well. Or south well, sorry. You've gone to the place of south. You've bloodied your walk through the ruddy walk. You found the journey, right, of knowing what is faith, because that's south as right. Now you've gone to the east, and now welcome home to the north. This is the fragrant place as arisen. We've already brought that up.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What is termination? Because in that word, that is 8444. Now we're gonna go through this first quickly. There's Hallel for people.
Right.
The shining one.
Right.
So that would be the same as Horus, the morning star. So there's Horus right there in a measure of innocent frequency The revelation of vision of a seer begets light as light begets light. This is as the moon, I am the sun. This is as the earth, I'm fully measured as
twin lights.
the twin lights. Absolutely.
Home.
It's my blood is now turned to light, back to the intention of the law of the sea. So this word right here is from this. This is the escape. God is our God. Halal lanuel. Okay, you can probably see a lot in this. Now we have salvation. Salvation, in this salvation.
Which I just have to show people this.
Mm-hmm.
They have lanu here.
Mm-hmm.
They just decided to put our.
Right.
Like there's no strong numbers attached to it.
It's
So here they have this lanu because this is halel lanu and they separated it with a pasak.
Right. This is the reason it's ingrained. This is one word. Halal lanuel. This is an entity.
Oh, this is the beginning even of a hallelujah.
This is an entity that knows well its frequency and it's established as salvation as it knows life through death.
Yeah, this is crazy. Because we have L both.
This is the law of the sea that mirrors itself as an
Right.
intention and it's risen as a new.
And then we have the new there, which is connected to the sun, which is connected to plasma.
Both lights on either side of itself with both
Right.
with both Aleph saying this is one who's begot one, and in the measure of one there they stand.
Oh my gosh! This is Yeshua. This is Yeshua.
That's Yeshua.
That is Yeshua. This is explaining the fifth element.
This is so even the pentagram by definition, we say
Wow.
pentagram,
It's pentagrammaton.
but you can actually say quintessential, and it means the fifth element.
Right here.
So again, I'm only sharing this because I'm going to release something that's coming up that may seem a little coded, not meant to be. It's just how the Spirit speaks.
Heart fire of
But when
light.
I'm just giving you insight to
Wow.
why I write how I write, and you can see that this is
That's moot.
that's death.
That's
Absolutely,
death.
that's death.
It's got mem vav and then vav tav and then sheen ayin is the heart fire that you see.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew that you'd geek out on it. So.
Oh my gosh!
But again, so this would be like this is a well of water right here. But we need to go down a little further.
Okay. I'm starting to spin.
I know. So this is the
Dang.
God of
Death.
This is death.
Yes.
But going down, this is our God.
Hallelujah.
Adonai of death.
Oh my gosh. And that's showing that it's a gift from God.
It's a gift from God.
So this is one who has the authority over death.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So let's finish it. For they escape
Oh my gosh.
as the mirror.
Wow.
This is the escape clause. This now again. So hear my words. What I'm saying, please listen to what I'm saying. I'm not sorry. I didn't mean to sound.
He gets passionate.
I get passionate.
I get passionate. He gets passionate. We can't help but get
We're
passionate.
talking about a language of. We started with this. Is the word
Wow.
important? I don't know. It's important to me. Why? Because a word begets a word as begets a sentencing. The sentencing forms the verse. In my summation of verse, I create the escape clause. By knowing the way of the North Pole, by me writing the letter to the North Pole, the postmaster receives all the letters and says, do you know good and well? Do you know? Because I will pull from the red sack and give you the measure of coal or a gem, dependent on your measure of interpolation and how you see the conclusion of clause.
Oh
The clause is a deposition of completion by sentencing to become the law of transaction that says, well done. You now get to escape. As the clause of conclusion states by law, you are able to now freely move about.
Man, and that goes back to Bo, to come and go.
So let's just breathe through that for a second,
I know,
because
I
that came
gotta-
from nowhere, but from everywhere. Because I didn't even realize that was coming out of me, but that needed to be said for however that needed to be said, because that wasn't even me sharing that. It was kind of like that was being pent up in me, and that had to be released. What I just shared. So I need to just breathe through for a second.
Wow. I felt that.
There's something going on that's been hidden in plain sight. The Nabi will see.
The Nabi will see.
But if you're just looking from a perspective of pieces on a board, you will never solve the case. It's a law of transaction that's called lawsuit. Do you fit it well? because it's asking us to weave a narrative so we would know the clause of escape.
Exactly.
It's called the Holocaust within.
Right. Right.
And not in a negative, I mean, no
No.
disrespect.
No.
We have to know the law of exchange, that we're poured out as an offering that arises as the sweet incense of a fragrant one that arises through the law of exchange to go up as an offering. And you're now the measure of plasma again through the transaction of the sea. Let's go down a little further.
I just love it that Daniel hatched because he knows some Hebrew. Ken means yes in Hebrew.
Oh, man.
We knew that, Daniel. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. My whole heart is a yes. It's a big check mark and a yes. Yes, thank you. So now going, so 844. Now,
Okay, let me go down. I was just showing something.
so we don't need to focus on, we're going to move down because I need to get down a little further. But so now we're still talking because I'm like, I get it. I fully comprehend that what we're bringing in Metatron. We're like Metatron alone is a lofty component, but it's only a measure. We need to bring it back down. Instead of putting it, it's on the top shelf, and yes, it's in regal reach. But if we don't lower our standard, but we raise our stance, we're able to see it and put it in perspective. Right? And so because the lofty of the blue bloods have relinquished us only to the ruddied walk of red.
Right.
But we are allowed to exchange to the blue blood. If you know the frequency of crystalline, you will know it's in the resonance of blue because it's the northern light.
Mm.
Think of Kal-El. We're going to go there.
Okay.
So let's go down a little further. All points to the heart centered. So now I put in this because the Spirit just said, and this is how it comes to me. So I'm just showing you my note. So please, thank you for your gentleness and your kindness. The Maltese falcon.
Mm.
The Maltese cross.
Right.
All points to the heart center.
Well, and that right there, that is earth, wind, fire, water.
Absolutely.
That is, and then the fifth element making the star
Right.
is the spiritual fire.
Absolutely.
The burning heart.
And
So it is pointing it, and it is the compass.
And it's the compass.
North, south, east, west.
That's why it's there. Thank
Yep.
you. Yes, absolutely. So let's break down these words. Maltese. Malta means he escaped. Place of refuge.
I did not know that.
So now
That's so awesome.
Now remember, Horus means the hawk, but the hawk means the falcon. So Horus already would have known this. The Maltese means the place of refuge.
Do you know what that means? I'm sorry, but that's very close to Meltha. That's Malta. But Meltha
Right.
is the Aramaic word that is expressing the word, what people would know as logos, but it's the fullness of everything that creates the essence of everything.
It has to be only in the fullness of exchange.
That it would be the place of refuge.
It's a place of refuge.
Of course
Malt
it would
is
be.
the filling up of the tav to know the way of the olive to know the way of wine.
So the sacred languages are the place of refuge.
Again, is the language important for you?
It's very important to me.
Is
It's what healed me.
Is it important to other people? That's solely
The Spirit would have to tell you that.
I'm only sharing from the perspective. Again, that's the biggest question we ask is like, is it difficult? Yes. It's taken me 9 years of self-digging to really pull from this place to be able to even share. And even at that, the Spirit just said, you're never going to be able to share it all.
Mm-mm.
We're going to have to
It's
become
not
it.
possible.
Only by the measure of becoming its intention will law present itself as a measure of transaction called the law of exchange.
Right.
It will be called the law of contraction and expansion by the birth, by force, right? We have a contraction that draws and an expulsion of force that comes back down to feed the contraction. That's called universe.
And that's the exact pattern of the toroid field of the heart.
Yeah.
When it's creating its own energy.
So we're almost there. So let's go down.
I only want to show right there, though, the gray bird.
Yes.
It comes from pale.
Well,
so the pale horse.
Yeah, that's why I laughed.
The rider of death on the pale horse.
Yes.
And the unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I kind of chuckled because I knew we were going there. So look, we need to look at this because the gray bird is important here where we're going to go to, but we're going to just go skip through the gray matter because this is within you. Now, the gray matter. So this flax was talking about the sickle. This is the moon because the moon is called this. When you look at the moon, it's called the sickle. And this is where we get the harvester from, and this is where we get the reaper, the death reaper.
Right.
It's a black cloaked individual, and it's got a skull face, but it's death knowing you've harvested yourself. And so Horus is directly connected to the reaping, as Christ is, as is Metatron,
Right.
as we are, if we so choose. If we know what life is and we equate it correctly, then we harvest ourselves by doing this.
So when we walk through the mirror of the shadow of death, we shatter it.
You shatter it.
And you go into life
And
eternal.
now you're the law of life and death. You
Right.
now know
you are the
good.
master. That's like that verse that said the Lametta in front of the word for death.
What is the definition of master? Master means one who knows the place well.
Science.
Deposition. From a place
Conscience.
to a place, right?
Right.
I'm in a place, but
Right.
a master knows a place well.
Right.
And so, yeah. So this is now the language. And we're only going to go through this really quick because this directly connects, because it's within you.
Right.
This place is directly connected. This definition is the gray matter. It's called like a fissure or a wall between the right and left hemisphere of our brain. This
the wall of separation.
The wall of separation.
Right.
When we go through what we're going to go through, this wall of separation will come
no
down.
longer be there.
And these are the woven ones that have gone through the left and the right to weave through the looming journey to become the garment of intention. They are one within. This is well with them.
Well.
Okay.
And I like the fact that the displacement and rotation, because you were connecting this to the gimbal.
Right. So now let's go down a little bit further. So yeah, so that's within you. And again, we can come back there. Now here's the Bennu bird. It's the stork, the gray bird. Now, isn't it interesting? We're talking about Santa who goes up the chimney and the stork delivers the baby down the chimney.
Well, he's got to come down too.
No,
well, hold
stop.
on. Okay, wait.
So go down. So we're missing. I need to make sure we get this. Oopsie. Bring back that picture. Sorry. It is.
Oopsie.
Oopsie.
You're just such a big strapping man, and whenever I hear you say whoopsie, I think it's the cutest.
So the
thing
Bennu
ever.
bird was called the sun and the moon. It was everything of creation, and it delivered life. How amazing, right? As a baby, we are delivered down the chimney in the narrative of the story. The stork brought the baby, Mom.
Right. Right. This is where it came from.
This is where it came from.
Okay.
So now tied to Christmas. Who goes up the chimney? The maturity of Santa, who reaches into the red sack to give us a gift based on the measure of knowing good and well. Santa, I'm writing a letter. Have you been a good boy? Do you know what good is? I have been a good boy. Well, we will see, because you will be given a measure solely dependent on that which you clause and define it to be.
Wow.
Tell me the letter, because I'm the receiver of all the letters. I'm the postmaster. I
Wow.
receive all the letters at the North Pole.
Wow.
I am you, anticipating you to meet me in the measure of maturation.
So when we write our book,
Right?
we are writing our letters
Right?
of our being,
Yes.
and we take them to the North Pole
Yes,
to
because
be adjudicated.
to be adjudicated. We're already doing it. That's now
Right.
again going back to the question: is the language important? If I'm in my thoughts and I'm only pulling from a partial thought of "I wonder if it could be," "I wonder if it could be," versus "I know what it is."
There's the difference, because the yada, the knowing, is an intimate knowing that once is, cannot be removed from you.
You know well.
Yes. Ken. Yes.
Yes. So let's look at the Bennu
I
bird.
know Ken.
So let's look at the Bennu bird to connect it to, again, it's from the fiery death like the sun raising at dawn. That's the Bennu bird to directly
My
connect.
goodness.
Okay.
Of course it would be. Of course it would be.
Mm-hmm. And a light going into the hawk, down below.
Constantly rise, renewed, just like the sun.
So this is the phoenix. This is
Oh.
also the Ouroboros. This is also the dragon. It's within you. Deep within the well resides, right, the fiery breath of the phoenix, which is the dragon. So I go in like the hawk and I come out like the Bennu, the morning star.
Oh my goodness.
Now think Bennu. Ben.
Right. Ben new.
There you
Right. Building the new, which is building the plasma body.
go. Right.
It's building the sun
Right. You're building the sun.
within.
Within. Absolutely. So
Ugh.
again, this is a lot of stuff we got to get. So let's get.
Man.
We're going as.
How are you guys doing? Are you feeling like you just ate a big porterhouse? I mean, there's a lot here.
I'm not gonna.
Listen, if you gotta go, you gotta go.
You gotta go,
But
you
if
gotta
you
go.
want to stay with us. And of course, you can always come back and watch the second half of this video later, because we've been going for quite a bit.
I know. So and I got to get to Claus. So here's the hawk in definition. A kind of a falcon. to grasp.
Right.
And the tongs mean exactly by the definition. It means it's the crescent of the tongs. So that's what it means, right? And I put in here the stand, because the stand, 121, the stand is basically being as raising up. Still got everyone there? We all good with everyone?
Yeah, there's still people.
All right. Okay, so let's go through this thing. So now we're coming into, let's get into Santa Claus here.
Claire was saying she was just warming up.
Oh, good. Thank you, Claire, for your generosity of time.
And then Alan, AZ Dub, no well.
Absolutely. Well said.
Very well said.
Yes. So this raising up, this stand is Aramaic. Kiyom. And it means as rising firmly, to be steadfast.
Oh my gosh, I never saw that one in Aramaic. As a rising in law.
As a rising in law.
Wow. I mean, so what we're doing is we're also sharing a little bit more of why the channel is called The Stand 121.
Right.
So just,
Well, from one, we were separated. Only by the two rings can you become one again.
Right.
Only by knowing the way of the compass and knowing it's a gimbling factor will the vessel be upright.
Exactly.
That's arisen.
And in Gematria, it would be Aleph, Bet, Aleph.
Right.
And Aleph, Bet, Aleph in Aramaic is source,
Right.
origin, originator.
Right.
Creator.
So let's go down a little further. We're going to try to get through this a little bit here. Sorry, we're just jumping through the notes. I know it's a lot. Sorry, but I'm not. So this is where we get the word. So this is kum. This is arise. So we already talked about the law of arising. I'm just putting down.
This is arising from death.
That's arising from death. Absolutely.
Right
as
here.
a twin.
As a twin.
As a twin.
So this is arising, Kiom, and then Tom. That is the twin. And then here's Met.
We can connect this in so many ways.
I know, but I just
this
saw
goes
it.
back to Zeus and the
Just
twins
saw
of
it.
Gemini that are actually one,
Oh my
but it's
gosh.
part of the celestial. And so this is now, because what they're doing is they're becoming one unicorn. And
Well,
this is why.
This is also a sitting sovereign, one who has completed the journey. Shu.
Right.
The law of return.
So even for what was released today with the kitten on the
I
unicorn.
know. Way to go, Lou. You were already prophetically
From
saying
its
this.
conspicuousness, and it's from its own definition, it's unicorn in the Hebrew.
Right.
Right? It's one measure, but it's from Ram. It means to rise.
Right.
This is called the wild ox, and this is what I had it written down on here. Nimrod. This was Nimrod. But again, Nimrod isn't what we think Nimrod was.
Well, I know, because we've got all these stories, and yeah.
So I can say that again.
Well, it's the journey within. That's the deeper exegesis work of the sode level of the scriptures.
Right.
It's all about you.
Right. And again, I don't want to rush this because this is a lot of information. But yeah, I'm just kind of, let's just scroll down as a scroll, because.
So just having to say this, though, this room,
Mhm.
this having the Aleph on the inside,
Yep.
This is one who has been elevated and exalted because they have the all
Yes.
within.
Yes.
They have source, origin, creator, the ineffable, the oreta, the light of creation has been made manifest in their heart. So this one right here is self-generating.
One horn. Again, I think that there's one horn is the unihorn. Means it's two, but
They've been unified.
they've been unified.
Well, because the Aleph already has two.
It already has a two, right?
It already
So
has two.
the two is only really a metaphor for a type in shadow, but you cannot be two. This is why it's 1-to-1. That the rendering down of the two generates the one power.
Right. So two yods and a vav. The two yods are the horns of power.
That come together.
The vav means to connect.
One expands.
Right. And that's it. This is it.
Yes.
So this is one who is two horn on the inside.
Yes.
That is connected to the everything, the
Yeah.
all.
Yes. And this goes down
Man.
to where we're talking
To rise up.
right. And so in this same spelling, Ram, perhaps coral, but now we're talking, so now we're going to Jerusalem will rise, right? Yerushalayim.
Right.
So now we have the rising. Who are these? Death will rise.
And they will be married and seated. These are those who have completed it. They don't have to stand anymore. They now can sit.
They took the witness stand
Right.
by entering the law of the court law or the courtroom within. They've adjudicated correctly through the word to self-sentence themselves to take the stand on the right-hand side of the Father. They stand until they say, be seated. Now give declaration of Claus. By declaration of Claus, I submit my rendering as innocent. As innocent, they say, now stand and take the left seat. I now call you supreme. Only by the measure of self-declaration can you write the sentence as a new verse to be established as celestial. It's a measure of transaction that light begets light by law becoming law.
Oreta.
Oreta.
Yeah.
It's the law of the sea, and only the Nabi will comprehend that.
The Nabi, the prophets.
For they speak the language of well within, and they broadcast it as a template of intention outwardly, creating prognostication for design.
So the Nabi are giving the seed of life that is meant to be placed on the inside to bring forth the power of the vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where we get neuroplasticity, where you have expanse within,
right,
based on a representation of experience without.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. It has death. This
Yes.
is rising from death.
That's why it's in there.
Oh my goodness. Again, Mem Vav Tav is
these
the
are
word for death.
these are
And
the-
this is Ra means the Resh Aleph is this comes from the word Roa, which means to see.
Yes.
To see death and rise.
Only a Nabi.
Wow.
And this is where you get the ruby slippers
Oh
from. So the
my
coral is the way of red,
gosh.
and this is high in value, and it's directly connected to Dorothy and the ruby slippers. This is why I can, when I'm seeing this, going, oh wow, this is the ruddied walk of red. This is the red suit that out of the bag comes the reward. What is the reward? Blue.
Oh my gosh, and it will be given.
Yes, this is a gift.
They will be given the new.
Yes.
They will be given the plasma energy of the sun.
Yes.
Oh my god.
This is a law of exchange. So I'm just giving you templates. So
whoa.
yeah, I know. I know. So there's the coral. So I need to break down coral for people to decide this is now a stone, and this is gorel, where this is the stone of casting.
Wow.
This is a new stone where they did not rent his garment, but they were casting the stone for his garment.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. So if you want to know about the casting lots, the reason why that would work the way it did through magic is that the frequency that was being emanated from the vessel would determine the outcome of the stone. Oh my gosh.
Again, you just said it your way.
Oh, I know.
By deposition, I declare
Wow.
myself through the word as it begets a word. As word begets word, I then form a sentence. In my sentence, I conclude this as a rendering. I write the verse and I say, I am the escape clause. In that rendering, you are now innocent by declaration. You are called redeemed.
Yes. Yes.
So coral. So again,
Oh my goodness.
So now this is where we
Hey,
get.
how are you guys doing? Let me check. I mean, this has been long. I mean, I don't know if you guys felt that, but I did. I felt that. Thanks for sharing, Christopher, my Gmail. I appreciate that. So thank you.
So
Okay.
I know it's a lot. So let's just see if we can just chunk through this thing. But so Gone with the Wind is Scarlet's feet. To see the emerald eye is Dorothy's gift, right? So this is Scarlet O'Hara, Gone with the Wind, and also they're all saying the same thing, as well as the Maltese Falcon. So with bloody feet I have walked the way of Ruby Mountain, and from the southern summit we are reminded by seeing onward's treasured reward. As shining as lightning beyond, we are revealed as the snow-capped peak of Emerald's mighty outcropping, a northern face flashing as a turning sword.
So good. So good.
Again, in the frequency of extrapolation, I write it as a summation called Claus. In the clause, I send the frequency of my heart into the measure of script. In that script, I'm called scroll. In the scroll of the Red Sea, I am bound and sealed. Only when I'm sealed as a gift can I be opened.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Man, that has to be played back. Jeez.
So let's
All
get
right.
in.
I know we need to go more. I can just tell that I've been drinking a fair amount this morning.
I've been bottled up for a while. Sorry. So let's get this. So let's connect this. Let's make it light. Please just make it light. I know that's heavy.
Well, no, no, it was beautiful. It's just I can feel the spirit on it, and it gets me, it gets me a little. I can tell that I've been drinking some champagne this morning. I got a little bit of Paris going on. The fruit is effervescing with some power in me, and I'm going to have to unplug and go outside and ground.
So, Natsak, preeminent, enduring. Let's just go through this. So we need to look at the break. All the same spelling. Preeminence, enduring, everlasting, perpetuity.
Right.
Nisak, juice of grapes, blood. Through the idea of brilliancy.
Right.
This is where we get the red from.
Right.
There is my sprinkle. There is my lifeblood sprinkled. Right.
Right.
Netsak, becoming chief. This is the Aramic, one occurrence.
Look at that. The light of the earth.
The light of the earth.
Look at that. It has order as well.
Yeah. Sure.
Light of the Orets. Oh my god.
So let's go down. Let's keep on going because we need to.
Life is in the blood.
Life is in the blood. We can go through this if someone wants us later on. But so here's now Daniel. Now the same. No, that's the same spelling. Now a flower and a blossom connected to fly, connected to take one stand.
Right.
And then down below, a blossom, a hawk, and a falcon.
So connecting to Horus.
Sparkling as the morning's light. Now we're into sparkle. Again, like from the top to the bottom.
Right.
These are the guardians of the protectorate of the law as lawyers because they are the lawsuit. They know well which they see.
Right. Because they've actually raised themselves
They've
up.
raised themselves up.
They raised themselves up for the poor and destitute position that they found themselves in.
Okay, we're going to jump now. We're going to skip a lot of stuff. So let's go down to this one. Go down a little bit further, please. And then we're going to jump into, we're going to skip all my writing because this is the writing I'm going to release in the next couple of days. But this one right here, the wind wheels the way by the golden gimbling rings. The word gimbal is an alteration of the word for type for finger ring popular in the 16th century that could be divided into two separate rings. The engagement ring and the wedding ring make one Metatronic song.
That's so great.
As one is awaiting for the coupling of two, we will know one as a rose. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one. So as one is awaiting for the coupling of two, you will know one as a rose. Heart is fully faced as the measure is you. 1 to 1. Often. Want to go down a little bit on that one? 1 to 1 Ezekiel. The wheels.
The Ophanim.
The Ophanim.
That's right.
The wheels upon the wheels.
Right. So we're again one that has the essence of the all that is connected to that in the heart will be the face that speaks the words that will elevate the fallen flesh.
So this is why we're just revealing ourselves here right now.
Right.
So this is 1 to 1 and then
Right.
go down. This is who it is. Wheels upon the wheels.
Yes.
1 to 1 kum. 1 to 1. The stand, the
Yes.
statute.
Right.
It's a law, statute, and an edict. 1 to 1 is the law of the sea.
Wow. Whoa. Sorry, went too far.
Okay, we can jump that verse that I am right there. It's just I'm a taunting song, but we can go beyond that because it's telling us who we are as a satire, which means you're a poetic melody. That's all that verse is saying. You're rising up as the prophet, right? You're now the song. And
how interesting that they would put it as taunting.
Right.
Like they added that.
Well, they say it's actually a satire, but when you go down to satire, like go down a little bit further because you can see what it is. It is simply, right?
Nagan.
You're a stringed instrument and you're simply a melody in a poem.
Wow.
You're satisfied.
To satisfy.
Right.
Sated.
Sated.
Of course. How interesting. It's just interesting to see.
I wanted to see this. So to see as the law is to know the law of the sea, a position held fast by pointing the wheel straight in the lee. As the holder of the compass, we are solved as a case. As a ship in a bottle, we innocently stand right in our place. Freely contained as the song calm in its role, a pitch coupled as Yah holds true to the rings, as poured out is the offering, as one is the bowl.
Yeah.
That's all perspective.
Right.
But now let's go down to where I need to get to, and that's right here. You'll see it and it'll say start, and that's Ken.
Whoop.
Whoop. You're making everyone dizzy.
Start.
All right. You can go beyond this part right here. This is still phosphorus, just kind of a redundant. We're not going to go into it, but this is what I want to go into.
Phosphorus is connected to Lucifer, just to let people know,
Right.
because we didn't say that before. Hillel is Lucifer, and they went and made an egregor and made everybody afraid of that word, but it's Hillel.
It's Hillel.
Which is the morning star, which is connected to Yeshua in the book of Revelation.
So now we're going into the blue. So now we shared all about the red, all about rising, because you have to rise through the red of the blood to know what is going to be arisen. The stork delivered you as a child, and now the child knows well that the gift is a measure solely based off of whether you've compressed enough of the coal to be given a gem. The gem is the completion. Are we all good inside?
Well, there's still people that are still with us from the beginning. That's amazing. You guys are still hanging out with us because we've been going for an hour and 48 minutes.
I want to show people this picture. This is an amazing picture, and it's called the Blue Dragon.
Let me get to... There we go.
It's a sea creature.
Whoa.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is incredible.
And so this is called the Blue Dragon, or the Blue Angel, or the Sea Swallow. And it's it's a sea slug, and it's of course it's found in the ocean.
Right.
But look at it, as far as something that's created, isn't that absolutely amazing?
It's incredible.
Now why I put that, so go down to the next picture. There you go. Why I put that in there, because where we're going as the blue. The slug is a shellless land snail. Okay?
Yeah.
So think of percussion and think about what we're in.
Right.
Okay?
Right. That would be connected to those who know the scent of the rose, by the way.
Right. Percussion of sound that's coming.
That would peel them off.
And we're going to get to that. So let's go down a little further. So let's go down to this one right here. The first clause renders clear as consciousness's last clause. Or conclusion's last clause, sorry.
Just trekking on down, getting us through.
There we go.
Okay.
The first word renders clear as conclusion's last clause. Clause, a sentence, a brief passage of written composition. Stipulation in a legal document.
Right.
Conclusion, to end a closing. Termination, we've already 8444, the closing of death.
Right.
And so this is based off of clause.
Okay.
So we're talking, we want to talk Santa Claus, whatever you need to connect it with. I know what I'm seeing and what I'm sharing. We've allowed a picture and a type in the shadow to dictate to us an event. But I'll tell you right now, the event is within.
Exactly.
So.
To conclude a matter.
That is Horus as the hawk and the glyph that's showing the pine cone. So we need to see what the pine cone is. In pine, to be fat and swell, you would know that. Again, this is the language.
Are you personally saying that?
No, I'm talking about from the heat.
I'm joking. Because I have gotten a tad bit fluffy. Sorry, I'm trying to lighten it a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, no, I know you would never.
You would know it as shaman.
Correct, shaman.
Right?
Exactly.
So this is
shaman is Shem with a noon, which means that which is of the name, who has honor, authority, and character, that walks in the flesh.
Right. And so again,
and they are a part of the spiritual fire.
Yeah. So and I'm hoping people can connect this to go like the pitch is the blood, it's the sap of the tree.
Right.
That I can't draw so many lines. We're going to have to, put this together in pieces in ourselves to realize the pitch, yaw, and roll is the law of the sea. Right. But we need to know what the pitch, yaw, and roll is to know what the law of the sea is.
Right.
And so it's the juice and the sap of the tree, but it's the blood within your veins. Right. Is it producing the measure of intention to be called center?
And mem is blood.
Right. And so pitch is directly connected to height as well. So, aliyah.
Yes.
Now we have in Hebrew.
Yes.
Highest, ile.
Yes.
Aramaic, ilai.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The Most High. That's
the Supreme.
There's the Supreme, the Most High. There's the Prince and Daniel, the Most High.
Right.
Ili, the upper chamber. And I put this because in this verse that I put Nebuchadnezzar in there because it's talking about them. And I'm not going to go into that, but Nebuchadnezzar is actually a measure, and you can see down below that it's interesting. Even Neo's coming out on 1-2-2-2-1-2.
Yeah, it's 12/22, 2021. So it's 1-2-2-2-2-2-1.
But really, Nebuchadnezzar only means to surround and protect the crown. Neo is right in Nebuchadnezzar, but Neo wasn't built. When Neo was built to put the bed in there to be called Nebo, the Nebuchadnezzar crashed. There was no need because Neo was the measure. He was the protector.
Right. Exactly.
And so in this language right here, but Nebuchadnezzar is directly connected to the word Netz. It's right in there.
Netzar and Netzar.
To be blossomed.
And Netzar is Nazarene.
So to protect the crown is to know that the flower of the amygdala is a bud right now and it's waiting to bloom. The wall division of gray matter will come down. The hemispheres of the brain will be woven together as one, and the amygdalas are going to bloom like a flower. And in that, the measure of light will be present in crystalline form.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That is so good. But I did want to add that Netzar,
Yes.
Netzar, Nazarene.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeshua the Nazarene.
The Nazarene, yes, the brilliantly clean and clear.
Yes.
It's all about that. That's why it's the crystalline.
Right.
So we're just gonna go with Boreal, the Ouroboros. Boreal is the name of the north wind that's also a god. The god of the north wind. So Ouroboros is light. The south light begets the north light. When you know it, you are well within. The turbine within is producing the intention. You are now called whirlwind.
Right. So now that's negentropy. You're spiraling.
Your south wind journey has produced a measure of ascension. When you meet centers marked correctly through the law of the sea, you will now counter-rotate and produce the measure of walk's journey.
Counterclockwise instead of clockwise.
You went up the mountain by right rotation. Now to meet the measure of light, you will come down as a counter-rotated measure in the full presence of brilliance.
And this actually makes great connection with when we get to Santa.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm already seeing that.
So now we have the pole, because this is the northern pole. So now we're talking Santa. So now we have this language of yoking. This is really important because, right, choice to reveal the top, right? The contract of death on the shoulders on the governance are the mother and the father, as knowing the south and the north, the black and the white, life and the death. It's the ark of the covenant. The rod and the poles know it's all balanced on the ark, which is the light of exchange. That is the law of the sea.
Look at this.
Yes.
There's Aliyah.
Ascension.
To ascend,
right.
To be the highest. There's your waters.
Yes.
Of not chaos, but of shalom.
Shalom.
This is the correct spin.
Yes.
Of the vortex on the inside of you.
You have to know the language of pole language to know that the vortex, we need to take the science inwardly to realize that you need to know south as well as north, because they work as a vortex language.
So if you were listening to this word, like if you didn't see it written, you would, this is death.
Yes.
You would hear that it would be death, but it means you're wrestling with death.
Choice.
It's all about choice. You're wrestling with it, and you're going to need to come to terms with it, which is your shadow work.
Yeah.
So people who have the fear of death, that is all ego.
It's fear.
And that's what this is saying.
Yeah,
right
there's
here.
a lot that we can go into. We could stop there in a moment and gone into a week sermon
pretty much
on any of this, but go down. So I'm just giving a little fill in. This left, it's the north, to say this is the North Pole.
Right.
This is where we write our letters of exchange to say we know good and well. We've separated out. I'm not a bad child.
Right.
I'm a good child.
Right.
And I'm looking for something to fulfill. This is my desire of exchange. Will you give me the need? I'm longing for the exchange.
Right.
It's beyond Santa.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's go down a little bit. Let's get on. This is the Rampermanto Simla. Now that's just the southern. This is where we get the word Australia from. And it also connects to red. This is why I can. So south is connected to the red walk as walking out at dawn.
Right. And anytime there's anything with wind, that's ruach or ruach, spirit.
So
Rucha,
we are
the unseen essence of that which you sense within, that you feel within.
So we become red by walk, by the ruddied walk we render clear to be called white as snow. When you're white as snow, it's the same as arisen as the blue. When the red and the blue and the white mix, you have purple. This is royal.
Exactly.
So this is a whirlwind. So this is where we get Easter from, which Easter is from os
to shine.
To shine eastward as dawn, right? And now we have estare.
Wow.
And so we can see that.
So even estarte means to shine.
To shine.
From the east.
Right, down the east. And so I just put Esther in there so we can connect it.
Esther, yes.
Yeah, I just have to make it as a document.
And Estor in this word, that means a star.
That means a star.
It's a star.
It's a star. Absolutely. That's why it's in there. So now we're at Santa. So now,
Oh my gosh. Semek Tov is in the middle. You have the word or, light. Semek Tov means you have completed. You have both rings. You have the covenant within. You no longer judge. You cease to be judged. You have been rendered clear and innocent as one who is marked free from judgment.
because you rendered it at neutrality,
You brought it into neutrality. You became a light. You are a star.
only a judge magistrate can
Oh my
administer from the place of
gosh.
neutrality. Anything less than that, he's out of balance and he's going to wobble at light speed.
And this, yes. And the other thing is there's Sar
Mm-hmm.
with the Tav in the middle of it as well.
With a prince,
So you've got royalty.
principality and power,
Oh my
because his turbine is neutral. He's fully moving in precession of intention, and he's fully balanced, moving at light speed. No
Wow.
wobble.
Wow.
This is the South and the North Pole.
And this is the root of the word for faith. Yamin.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the right-hand path is the right
The
ascension.
faith walk.
The faith walk. It's right there, the right-hand path,
Mm.
facing east. So now, saying all that, we're going into Santa now. So Santa, saying all
We're
that.
finally there after an hour and a half.
So here's the fun part. So if we said everything we said, so now we know that Santa lives, he's beyond. Santa lives at the North Pole. Santa is death. And he's coming into exchange to see where we are in our life expression.
Did you shatter the mirror?
Did you shatter the mirror? And do you know good from evil? Do you know well from affliction? Did it produce the measure? Do you get coal or do you get the compression of the diamond? I will reach into the bloodied sack and I will swap your DNA, and I will know in the twinkling of my eye, as I lay a finger aside of my nose, up the chimney I arose.
Wow.
I am the wind and I am the breath. I am the breath of the dragon, as a nose, as a nostril that breathes. As one completed by the journey of the south, I too have become one, as called the measure of the north. I am light, but I am the fullness of death, as I am one. I have come down in the way of the stork, as the Bennu bird. I have come down the chimney in the measure of red to see where you are in your process of becoming a Claus. If you were a Claus and you meet the measure of conclusion, up the chimney you shall go, and the measure of a rose.
Oh my gosh. Woo. Oh. I'm almost stick a fork in me.
So there's nostril.
Right.
One occurrence out of the nostrils goes for smoke. I lay a finger aside of my nose.
Wow.
Right? So we're talking about, so laying a finger aside of his nose, up as in smoke, is the fragrance of the blue as a rose. Why am I saying blue? So let's go down this
Well,
technique. Well, no.
Can I share what I see with that?
Sure.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
In Aramaic, this right here, Kaf Lamed means crown. It
Mhm.
also means bride.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the signature of the mother and the father is completed
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
as the violet.
You have to be.
So you have the red and the blue.
Yes.
The red, the frequency of both mother and father to be made violet. This is the bride receiving her crown as queen.
You see well. So let's go through this. So now we have regulate, we have end, we have completeness. Right?
Kali.
Kali,
So even the goddess Kali, which is a,
blue goddess.
yes, she's a, exactly, she's a blue goddess, and she comes to destroy the egregors,
Yes.
to bring them down, the things that are keeping us away from being crowned and equipped.
Yes. These are the completed.
So the death and the rebirth cycle.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You can call them Santa Claus if you want to, if you want to.
Wow.
Because, so now let's go down to Shekalit. So now to be completed and finished, this is the ingredient of holy incense that roots out at the lion.
Wow.
Okay. And in this, now we have it says talking about peeling off by concussion of sound, a scale or a shell as the purple sea dragon.
Wow.
So we're just going to move. Now this word for sea as a mule, as a gull.
Can I just show you? This is a shortened form of the word chayil, which means strength.
Yes.
And on the outside, we have shin tav,
Yeah.
which means foundation.
It's the mighty Oz. It's the foundation.
This is the strong foundation, the strength within.
This is the emerald sea, as it is a crystalline floor, because that's what you stand upon.
Right. Right.
So now we have the sea, which this is from that. So now it's directly connected to the seagull and the hawk.
Wow.
And the owl. But when you go down to Gaul and you realize what Gaul is from the seagull, moose, it means, right, where the king's hawks are kept.
Wow.
That's what a Gaul is. And so where the hawks, it's where the hawks change. It's the place where they molt to produce the measure of intention.
Wow. To change, alter, and transmute. Khalaf.
These are the shining, and this is the changeling.
Oh my goodness.
So now a little further. Catch up to you.
There's that zakak again.
Up as the smoke offering, right? So this is all based on morals and standards of ethics of honor, because you cannot, only by those by enter the witness stand that sit at the right hand will comprehend the way of honor, because the left hand seat is the judicial seat of supreme honor. This is a law of exchange.
I find this interesting too, because this is the word for innocence and purity.
Yes.
Right. And it also means an heir to the throne.
Yes.
And to select and purify.
Yes.
By choosing that which you eat. So we've got the twin bets there, building of mother and father.
Mother and father, absolutely.
That raise you up.
I know this is a lot. I know it's a lot. I know it's a big file, but we're just going to go through it. So just go through it. It's reaffirming purity and innocence, purity and innocence, purity and innocence. If you haven't rendered the word to know within you is pure innocence, then most likely your verdict is going to be ill. But if you know what it is, then you know well what it is to become. From a witness stand, I move into the left seat as the north as death correctly, and I feel no sting because I meet the sting's measure.
Right. Right.
There is no sting for you, my friend.
There is no sting.
You see well. And so now the scales are within.
If we had time, I would have loved to go over that.
Well, we can go through this.
Okay.
If people are interested, you can use this. So now so the scales are within the red sack. And so this is based off of, so shall I count pure those scales wicked within the bag? This is the sack, are the weights, right, of pureness and deceit. This is Santa's bag.
Oh my gosh.
You are the red sack. And you're about to be weighed.
It's so interesting that it'd be deceitful here.
Yeah.
Because it's like those who were bitter that were raised up through their shadow work. And then the weights, this is abni. This is a stone.
Right.
Right? But this is my sons who build through the unseen essence.
Yes. It's
will be weighed as the stones that took their bitter, bloody walk and were elevated because they went in and did their shadow work.
This isn't about the guilt part of this is what the word does. Unless you go
this
into
is like
it.
The English translation.
Right. All is it saying really, I could in a quick rendering, because we don't have time, but in the quick rendering, it says, in this sack, the red sack within that you call Santa's bag is a measure of good and evil, affliction and well. What are you making? What choice are you making to navigate through? Are you going right ascension to stand as a witness so you know the adjudication of process?
So here we have the wicked, but it's really Ra that has sheen on the inside, which is an adversarial friend,
right,
who has found the fifth element,
right,
the spirit fire within their heart.
Absolutely.
So they translate it as wicked, but this is adversarial friend, which is going to lead us to Santa as we get down there a little further. Absolutely.
Again, you see well. So let's just keep on going down. So this is now, we're talking about, because it's all talking about iniquity or the wrong way, injustice. This is all, the whole system of law is based on the injustice and knowing right ascension. You have to be, again, the law of the sea is the compass and the pieces coming together between the vessel, the gimbaling, and the compass, knowing upright well. They have to be centered knowing this.
So then if you can see this, then you can see the injustice as within, so without.
Then you see it as neutral.
Right.
You simply see it as an opportunity to express what is necessary to become a sovereign being.
Yeah.
There is no right and wrong. It's simply an expression. They partnered with a choice that produced a measure called definition. In that definition, they become that word. A word begets a word. Right. And a word sentences as a verse. So now we have, this is all the scent language. Now this is part of, I lay my finger aside of my nose, and up the chimney as smoke I arose. Right. This is the language for ascent. This is called the Holocaust, going up in smoke.
Going up, the ascension process.
Right? A twinkle in his eye, and he winked at me, and up the chimney he rose. I came down as the stork, and I go up as Santa. So we can go through that, and now we have Kali. It's the same word. It's connected to this, and now we have the word for holy,
But
perfection.
This is both the portion of Lila and Hillel.
And Hillel, very
Both
good.
of it.
Right.
Both of it.
Because that's exactly what she is.
Is he, she, feminine, masculine.
So interesting.
Grasping the power
So
of the
let's
twin
see what this
staffs.
word means. This Kali word. Go down to the first occurrence of it. The ephod is all
Blue. Tekalit.
And her name is Kali.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So there's a first occurrence.
Well, and then off, ephod,
yes.
off right there is nose.
Right.
Nose, face.
And we're getting, so we already, it was up above. I think we passed it. So that is the nose. So the finger laying aside of your nose is to know well. You're right. So now this is all based off of, I know that people are going like, oh my goodness, it's too much, but it needs to come right now. This is all based on the blue smoke offering. This is what goes up. This shall be entirely consumed in the earth, and in its offering shall arise the transmutation of the law of the sea. If you know the South Pole, then you become to the North Pole. Again, these are them. So let's go down to see why I'm talking about the blue. So these are Kali, completely and entirely burnt up as a Holocaust, as the offering. And so now we go down to Kali.
Yeah.
The master of death and the time of change.
Right.
This is what we're going into.
Right.
So here's a picture of her. Has the black face of death. It's only a picture.
Reality.
But she's the blue being, right? And that's Kelly on the ground as well as Kelly standing up. It's the spirit essence to say, I wear the rings, the necklaces of all the heads of ego. I wear them as a reward around my neck. Through life, our journey is death.
So she is the one that helps us. It's Lila and Kelly are the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Doug Wentz and I shared a great conversation about that, about getting rid of those egoic things, those egregors that are not real.
Right.
They don't exist.
She helps you arise as Santa up the chimney. So now why the blue Santa? So let's go down to this right here. The blue Santa. This is actually the oldest Santa on record.
Oh my goodness.
It's a crystalline form.
I do remember that they changed the red. Coca-Cola did that.
Right.
They made this blue.
It's still there as a metaphor of exchange to say, but this is in the 1800s that this salt glazed figurine was found.
Wow.
And it's the blue Santa.
Wow.
And so let's go down. These are just some pictures. Now I'll show you the rendering of it. So now this is a Russian Santa dressed as a priest.
Oh my gosh.
The two horns.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is incredible.
Look at the rainbow on his garment.
Oh my goodness.
As a priest.
Oh my goodness.
And that's a Russian Santa.
Wow.
That's a dragon.
That is beautiful. Wow.
So now we can go beyond this. This is the story of the blue crystalline Santa. If anyone wants to, you can Google it. You can do what you want. But let's go down a little further. And this is what it is. There it is.
Father Christmas.
Father Christmas. That's what was found. This is in the 1800s. That's the gem. So now we're talking about Horus. Now this is the postmaster. So the postmaster being as present as arisen as north. From the south letters are sent based on knowing good and affliction. The North Pole gathers all the letters and in return delivers a measure of presence based on self-awareness. Coal is unrefined as immature. A gem is refined as mature.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's go down a little further. The postmaster is, as full word, is the Sephiroth, Santa Claus. By drawing out of the red sack, redaction of the blood, from within I walk to the reward, a self-delivered gift called book, a measured title, victory's clause, life's beginning, self-prescribed, and death.
Wow.
St. Nicholas means divine victory. So I am the letter sentencing my need, good or bad, my conclusion dictates as a gift of resolve. St. Nicholas, Father Christmas, the Father and the Christ anointing within, saint, holy, divinely inspired to consecrate, right?
Right, and holy, when I was looking at the etymology of that, means one who is whole, healed as uninjured.
As well.
Yeah, as right? Well, and as not well. Ill.
So Nicholas, victory people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now let's go down. Victory. Get victory. To deliver. Yasha. The fire within. If you know the vision of fire within, you will know well.
Right. And this is Yesh. This is a being of substance that exists, that sees and knows the purpose.
Right.
And to deliver,
So
to be safe.
this one will be opened.
Right.
This is one that's already been sealed. This will be opened.
So what has happened is they've opened the heart fire.
Right.
So they are self-generating the fire, the fifth element.
Right. So this is the Claus. Now we're talking a passage.
Right,
of
and we went back. We did talk about.
So I just brought that down.
Yeah.
So in summation, I deliver my final closing statement as Victory's Claus, Santa Claus. I'm delivered with reward of and as victory. Through Yah, I fulfill role and pitch. One who has the word written of self-sentencing, or one who has by the word written a self-sentencing letter that fulfills one as beginning and end. A book fully covered and sealed as it fully contains one as the expanded verse. A measure of self-deliverance.
Yeah. Favorable, gracious, kind, well disposed.
Yah means behold the vision of breath revealed. Roll means full as the roll, means written as the scroll. Pitched as sealed. That is the Sephiroth.
And that would be those who have both rings that produce fruit.
Right.
Their book shows that they've produced fruit. They have become the sign, signal, beacon, and miracle.
I think, yeah.
The first and the last, the beginning and the end, those have connected to the spark within.
So what's going to happen is we're going to end right here because everything after this point is defining yaw, pitch, and roll, and I'm going to keep that. But first, what's going to happen is first the wrapping up in the sealing, and then the opening of what was sealed. The gift of exchange is about to happen. They will be completely wrapped up in the mantle of responsibility. In this measure of wrapping as light, as becoming a turbine and a whirlwind within, this measure will be then sealed and removed for the purpose of finality's work. They will be polished and appraised, and they will be brought down the measure as adjudicational's role, bringing forth the law as divine exchange, as they are the law in present form.
Wow. That's kind of a Salem moment right there. I don't even know if you guys got all of that. That was a lot. Yes, you are going to have to rewatch this because this has been 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of information that we've shared today. But one of the things that I would like to share with this is that we didn't talk about Santa. And I'm just going to land the plane on that because Santa is an anagram. Well, no, we did. I'm just saying Santa is an anagram. It's for Satan.
It's the rings of Saturn.
Right. But it's also, yes, as it's connected, but it's also an anagram for Satan.
Yes.
So Satan is the adversarial component. And the reason why when we become an adversarial friend is the Santa Claus is because when you have the two rings of authority, when you have both of these things, you become the adversarial component to the matrix duality because you've risen above it. You stand in the place of neutrality. And that's, again, connecting to Ken, to what you were saying, having the case and being the case of the chessboard, the black and the white squares, and all the pieces contained within one box, one case, as sealed as a rendered verdict, as clean, whole, purity and innocence, having completed the journey here.
That would be a supreme being that would sit in a magisterial seat, and only upon questioning would he seek to resolve by opening within to pull out the pieces to explain his measure that's contained. So he would pull out to express, I will move the pieces of black and white to find the resolve. And after I find the resolve, all the pieces go back. From the measure that begat, I speak from that measure as a resolve.
Wow.
That's how judicial system works. It's like the judge magistrate can only speak from his own resolve.
Right.
And if he hasn't and does not know center balance, then he has no authority to hold center as balance.
Right. I get that.
I know you do.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. If I feel done and I'm feeling it all right here, I know all of you are done. I can handle about 2 hours of Ken sharing. It's now like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm like 15 minutes overcooked.
So let me just say that it's not necessarily that you have to comprehend it. Just in the innocence, just receive the frequency. This needed to go out. I felt that the spirit was so on me that it's more of a frequency of just recognition to tether it to what's about to transpire. But it's like an ether language where we're uplifting it into the internet. So the internet and the frequency is already there, knowing that we know this, and by law it has to exchange.
So with having said that, thank you guys for joining us today. I might download this and chop it into a couple pieces, or I may just leave it as is. And those that are willing to take a 2 hour and 15-minute plunge into Ken's brain and heart, you can come back and do it again. So thank you. Thank you, Toda Rabba Ken, for what you share. Thank you for overcooking my turkey. I am good. It is all well with my soul.
Up the chimney she goes.
Shalama, shalom, shalama alaikum, kuda, and namaste.
Shalom, shalom.